Hey there guys, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do an early impression into The Fifth Day, developed by Toez. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I'm really sorry. Anyways, The Fifth Day is available on Steam's Early Access for the regular price of $15, alright? Now, as with all our games on our Early Impression series, it is an early access game, so if you are interested or curious about The Fifth Day, I do recommend to check at least the Steam's page on the game to check out what the latest version has to offer, as it very well might have changed by the time you watch this video. But anyways, what is The Fifth Day? Well, it's basically another entry to the survival sandbox genre. This game's a little bit different in that you are actually playing as a robot in a post, let's say, Terminator world. The robots have won the war, and now you're a robot trying to survive, and all robots have turned against each other for some reason. Well, that's generally kind of the premise, alright? Let's take a look at some of the options and what it has to offer, which is quite limited. You're pretty much looking at the whole options menu right now, not much here. Now, this is kind of common with early access games. Excuse me. But all the same, it is worth noting. Hopefully they can expand and resolve this issue. Now, you do have skills as well. You play some multiplayer games, you can accumulate passive skills to improve your robot. Alright, and then you have your tutorial. You also have online multiplayer. Unfortunately, we'll just take a quick look here. There's really not that many people playing this game. There's only a handful of servers with less than a handful of players at a time from the looks of it. It's not the first time I checked. It's kind of a common trend for this game. Anyways, and then you have your quick play, which is your campaign, your single player, the real meat of the game. Unfortunately, at the moment, you can only have one save file, and there's no real way of deleting your save file unless you go into the folder yourself. So that's a bit of an issue. Hopefully they can fix that down the road. But anyways, let's actually jump into the game and see what this is all about. No, I don't want to go into a multiplayer. Let's go into a single player. Alright. Now again, this is an open world sandbox game, so you're going to have to expect some open world sandboxy elements, alright? So you're going to be running around a lot. But anyways, you know what? Before I get into the mechanics, let's actually talk about the graphics a little bit. Now, as you can see, it's going for that hyper-realistic, high-fidelity 3D look, which is fine, and it does a fairly good job of it for the most part. The foliage is nice, the landscape is robust with plants and trees and all that. The trees look pretty good, and the textures on the tree actually looks pretty good too, but that's not consistent, unfortunately. Some textures do look a little bit low res, and a little bit slapped together. As you can see, this is just one texture kind of stretched around with this one model here. There's no real care taken with the detailing, which is a bit unfortunate. So unfortunately, you know, although this game does a pretty decent job at portraying that, you know, realistic landscape look for survival horror games, it doesn't have a lot of style. It doesn't have a lot of visual style, which is a bit unfortunate. It does look a little generic, but not terrible. Okay, it's not a bad looking game, it just has no character. Alright, now as you notice, my screen is getting more and more distorted and more noisy. That's because I'm a robot and I have robot vision. And for whatever reason, this is actually a mechanic that I don't really fully understand, but the more I play, the more distorted it becomes. I won't turn this on just because I can. And the weirdest thing too is, oh god, I think there's a robot, enemy robot. The weirdest thing about this too is that, you know, it looks more and more distorted the more I play in the session, but watch what happens if I exit the game and then go back into it. Once it loads anyways. The distortion's gone. At least temporarily, and then it'll come back. It'll come back. It's really odd. Actually, you know what? I don't think it's saved. And that's why the distortion's gone. So we'll let it come back, and then we'll show you that example in the better detail anyways. But anyways, regardless, the visuals aren't bad. You know, it's not ugly. It got some pretty interesting landscapes. But it's just a little bit, you know, a little bit generic. Not a lot of character. That's really my only critique on that. But anyways, let's kind of talk about the gameplay. So as I mentioned, you are playing a robot, and like other survival horror, or not survival horror, but survival sandbox games, you're going to want to walk around the world looking for loot to collect and all that sort of stuff to help you survive and progress and all that kind of crazy stuff that you would do in survival games. Now, the game does say you can. You know what? We're going to bring up our radar. We got a couple guns as well. We're going to bring up our radar. Okay, because it does tell us if there's enemy robots around. But anyways, the game does say you can actually build fortresses and hack things and activate AIs to be on your team and build bases and all this other crazy stuff. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. Ooh, it looks like there's an enemy robot around, so we're going to run away. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I played this for roughly 3 hours, which is a fair amount of time. I believe that's a fair amount of time. And this is the best I've done, to be honest. I found, here's my best game, okay? I found a shotgun and an Uzi. That's my best game right now. After 3 hours, I haven't experienced any of the more complex mechanics that this game totes. I haven't had the opportunity to build any bases. In fact, I haven't even found very many things in that 3 hours. I found like a survival guide that allowed me to build things, that gave me the recipes, but I didn't have the materials to build anything. I found a couple guns just then, obviously, and I found a few power cells and robot-y things, and that's about it. And my screen is getting more and more distorted. So I don't know what's up with it. Maybe it can be really interesting down the road, but I haven't experienced any of the more interesting mechanics. Really, all I've experienced is this. I'm just running around, avoiding robots, looking for random loot. Hopefully those loot will combine to something useful, yet that has yet to happen, so it's a bit unfortunate. It's arguable that, you know, I should give it more time and play more so I can experience the more high-end gameplay that this game totes. But after 3 hours of play, how much more time do I have to invest into a game before it becomes interesting? Because, like I said, for that 3 hours, all I've been doing is been walking around looking for random stuff. And those random stuff really don't do anything. Alright, so that's really my biggest gripe with this game, is that it has horrible pacing. Unfortunately, I just gotta be blunt about it. Now, you might be saying it's an open world game. How do you have pacing in an open world game? Well, just by, you know, having some random stuff laying around the floor that the player can interact with. Like, let's take DayZ for an example. Okay, that's a popular survival game that a lot of people know of, that a lot of people do play. Oh, this is one of the AIs, by the way, but I don't have the hacking tool in order to hack it. And if I jump down here, there's no way out. There's no exit out. I can't jump out. I think I need some sort of hovering upgrade in order to get out of this pit. I had to just restart the game, which was kind of annoying. So, yeah, you do have to keep that in mind. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, as far as pacing is concerned, let's take DayZ for an example. You know, that's an open world game as well, and that game is actually kind of paced relatively well, at least the DayZ mod, when it was enjoyable. The standalone is still kind of off, if you ask me. But anyways, yeah, the game littered the landscape with random junk. You know, some useful, some not. But because even the not useful stuff, even the useless stuff that you can pick up, at least is something to interact with. It's a sign to the player that you are doing something right. You're discovering things. It might not necessarily be useful at the moment, but there you go. You know, you're actually doing something in this world, so you're playing the game. Right now, I don't feel like I'm playing the game. I'm just walking around, hoping to find something useful, you know, which is a bit unfortunate. Alright, but anyways, enough about me complaining about the pacing of the game. Let's actually talk about some of the mechanics I do know about. Up in the top left-hand corner, oh god, that's an enemy robot. Let's get the hell out of here. My screen's really distorted now. So let's actually do the test. I'm going to save the game and exit out of this and see if our color comes back. I don't really understand why it gets distorted to black and white like that. Okay, yeah, it did come back. Perfect. Anyways, top left-hand corner, you'll see a few icons. The shield represents my armor. The radioactive sign represents how radioactive I am. And because I'm a robot, that doesn't really matter, I don't think. It just represents how much radioactive gear I have on. And what that really means is how much that other robots or other players can detect me. Because the more radioactive I am, the more I come up on the radar or indicator. I believe that's how it works. Anyways, then you also have a lightning sign, which actually stands for your excess power supply. As you notice, if I stand still, I actually am recharging my kilojoules, and with that allows me to run faster and allows me to jump. Yes, jump takes excess power, otherwise you can't jump. Alright, and kg, that weight sign just below that is my weight. There's only a certain amount of weight that I can carry. And that arrow that pointing up with 0%, I have no idea what that is. I'll be straight up. No clue. Alright. But as far as other mechanics I know of, you're basically running around, usually holding this radar, hoping for the best to not find robots, that's coming up now. And if you do, back away and look somewhere else for loot. And that's basically the game. Yeah. At least, oh, I just died. God damn it. That was my best run. Oh well. But yeah, that's basically all I've experienced from this game so far. Again, after about 3 hours play, I've yet to actually experience more of the high-end stuff that this game claims to have. You know, like crafting and base building and all that sort of stuff, which is a bit unfortunate. Alright. Anyways, let's actually go back and explore the multiplayer a little bit. The multiplayer is a little bit quirky as well. I'm gonna try and find a match. There is a couple of matches. But getting into a room's a little tricky. Like, I'll double click it, and okay, this time it's actually working. But I have to actually sit here and wait a good while before anything actually happens. So there's some optimization issues with this game as well. Okay, it's saying starting game. Good. This is, I don't know if this is lucky or not that this is going to be an example of alright, you know what? I take back the whole multiplayer thing. That actually didn't take that long. Okay, maybe I was just connecting to a poor server the last few times, which is possible. So I take back my multiplayer critique. It's actually working fine. But the multiplayer is actually kind of interesting. And there's actually a few different modes as well. There's team and free-for-all, essentially. And I guess the developer kind of realized that these survival sandbox games end up turning into a giant PvP match anyways. So the multiplayer in this game kind of focuses on that, which I actually don't mind. I think that's actually a very rational look at open sandbox survival PvP, because that's essentially what it is. And it kind of works like, I don't know, like the Hunger Games, I guess. It's a temporary kind of multiplayer game where, you know, you start off in the world, you look for loot, trying to upgrade yourself as much as possible, hunt down players, and win the server, I guess. And the more people you kill, the more skill points you'll get to upgrade your robots from the skill menu that I showed you in the beginning. So yeah, but once you die, that's it. You're dead. You have to respawn. Last time I died, I actually got kicked off the server all upright, so I don't know what's up with that. But yeah. The radar will actually pick up other players, alright, which is actually something else about the game that I should mention to you guys. The way that you select your weapons and items, you don't actually use the number keys. Oh, there's enemy robots behind me. That's bad. You don't actually use the number keys. You actually have to scroll with E. You just have to keep tapping E. So you have more than one items. You just have to scroll through all the items until you find the right one, which isn't that great. And currently, to my knowledge, there is no way to rebind your controls, which is a bit unfortunate. So yeah, that's essentially the fifth day. How do I feel about it? It's kind of boring. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't want to say, I don't want to say that about the game because yeah, I think it has some promise. I mean, it looks fairly good for the most part, though not the best at the same time. And it does have an interesting premise and all that, but the sandbox survival genre is just so saturated right now. For $15, there's so many other options that's a lot more finished than this game right now, and are essentially just better, in my honest opinion. It's better paced. Pretty much every sandbox survival game I played has better pacing than this game. Like I said, after 3 hours of finding absolutely nothing to do, that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I found the world border like multiple times trying to find something to do in this game, and I just couldn't do it. Now, given I've been reading up on the forums, and players are saying that, you just have to give it some time. The experienced players have, built bases and all this other crazy stuff that they're doing. They're hacking and have AI friends and all this crazy stuff. But I have no idea how many hours that required of them to get to that point. Because after 3 hours, I should at least start seeing some signs of that, but I haven't. I haven't seen anything. After 3 hours, the most I've seen is a couple of guns, and that's about it. And that's a little bit unfortunate. So the game has a huge pacing problem. A huge one. And that is going to be the game's biggest fault. Maybe the game is fun down the road. Maybe it does have a lot of potential. But I don't know. I can't spend 20 hours on a game to let you guys know these things. This is an impression video after all. It isn't a review. A review is where it requires the commentator to know the game inside and out. An impression video is to let you guys know how you're going to feel about this game within, the first few hours of you playing. And well, in the first few hours of me playing, I can't say I'm enjoying it. And that's a bit unfortunate because it does have kind of an interesting premise. And the graphics, again, don't look terrible. It's actually quite playable. Not the best, but still not terrible. And the game is fairly stable at the same time. I haven't noticed any crashes or any major game-breaking bugs either. So that's also a thumbs up. But again, the game is relatively boring at the moment, at least the first few hours. And again, maybe after a few dozen hours the game will open up, but I have not reached that phase. And I honestly, I don't think this game has captivated me enough for me to actually reach that phase of the game. So there you go, guys. That's a bit on the fifth day. Sorry I couldn't tell you more about the mechanics, but unfortunately the game just doesn't open up fast enough for me to do so. And when I say fast enough, I mean after 3 hours. Okay? I don't mean like give me everything within the first 15 minutes. I mean, after the first couple hours, I want at least to be able to craft the simplest of things just to get a taste. And this game refuses to give me any of that. Alright, well anyways guys, I'm going to get out of here. I really do appreciate you guys watching, as always. If you did enjoy this or found this informative in any way, do show me some love, like, share, fave, and comment. Let me know what you think of this game. And if you played this, let me know how the end game is if you reached it. Okay, a little bit weird. But anyways, don't forget to subscribe, feed me my vegetables, and help me grow. Thanks for watching guys. Aldershot out.